When I was 19 years old, I was handing out Red Bull cans to strangers, studying at university for a degree so I could get a job I didn't even want, and I was partying 3 to 4 nights a week. I'd get drunk, I'd wake up hungover, and I'd drag myself through the week. And then I'd reset and do the exact same thing the following weekend. And on a rainy day in March 2020, during COVID, I was on shift, sitting in one of those Red Bull branded minis. My degree was coming to an end, I had no clear direction, and I had no idea where my life was actually going. And I remember thinking, how the fuck do I change my life, and how do I change it fast? So I did some research, I set some goals, and most importantly, I applied it immediately. I started waking up early, I started working on myself, and I quit my job and started a business. And in the beginning, this was brutal. It took a huge amount of discipline just to get out of bed, but it worked, and I started to see change. But most importantly, I started to feel different. And after about 2 months, those new habits stopped feeling forced and they became automatic. And they became the foundation for everything that followed. Running marathons, completing Ironman, and becoming a millionaire by 23 years old. Now, I don't believe I'm anything special, but this worked for me, and hopefully after watching this video, it will work for you too. So if you do want to go ahead and change your life around, there are 5 things you need to understand about habits. And it all starts with that if you don't consciously create habits, you're still creating habits, just not the ones you want. Now, this sounds obvious, but most people don't actually understand the consequences of it. If you don't set a time to wake up and you just wake up whenever you feel like it, you've installed a habit. I'm the kind of person who wakes up whenever I want. And if you're generally fine with that, cool, no problems. But here's where it gets incredibly dangerous. If you keep telling yourself, I'll wake up early tomorrow, and then you don't, and that happens again and again and again, you're not just failing to build that wake up early habit, you're installing a new identity. The identity of, I don't do what I say I'm gonna do. And that is far more damaging than just sleeping in. Because every time you don't follow through, you're not staying neutral, you're moving backwards. Your brain is always listening. If you say I'm disciplined, but act undisciplined, you're hardwiring the opposite belief. And that internal dialogue becomes your self-image. And frankly, this is why habits matter so much to me. Because I know if I don't do the thing I say I'm gonna do, I'm not just skipping an action, I'm reinforcing the wrong identity. You know, if I can run a 20-minute 5K, but I stop training, I don't just stay at the same fitness level, I get worse. I lose fitness and I lose capacity. And I lose that identity as a runner. You know, the same thing will happen with habits. If you stop doing the things that support the person you want to become, you don't pause, you regress. So understand this, it's not just about waking up late, not going to the gym, and just procrastinating on a business idea. It's about the message you're sending yourself every single day. I'm gonna do this, no I'm not. And if you repeat that long enough, your brain will stop believing you altogether. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from the video, it is this. When you don't stick to a habit, you're not just not doing it anymore and you're doing nothing. You're actively creating a habit that is working against you. And whether that's drinking every weekend, avoiding exercise, sleeping in, staying in the same job you hate, or constantly telling yourself you'll start soon, but never actually starting, the longer you delay that action, the harder it is to change, because your brain is learning that you are not the person who follows through. But there is some good news in this. It's pretty simple to fix. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but it is simple. And so simple that it's almost impossible to fail. And the next 4 steps, I'm gonna show you exactly how to fix this. So for me, habits aren't just things I do, they're who I am. They're the building blocks of my character. And if you zoom out and you look at your life, what you do every day, every week, that is your personality. That's what habits are. They're a stake in the ground that says, this is who I am. And if I compare myself to when I was 19 to who I am now, there is almost no overlap in habits. At 19, I was going out drinking multiple times a week, waking up whenever I wanted, with no clear direction. And the version of me that's built multiple 7-figure businesses, made millions online, and manages teams of people, doesn't have any of those habits. And that is no accident. And as boring and as mundane as it may sound, wake up times, training, work inputs, they are all the foundation that is required to become a different person. And I treat habits like data points. If I say I'm disciplined, my habits will prove it. If I say I'm focused, my habits will prove it. There is no emotion in it. Did I wake up when I said I would? Did I train when I said I would? Did I do the work I committed to? It's either yes or no. And when I look back on a day that's been and I say, did I do what I said I'd do? That gives me the right belief in myself. And that's where confidence actually comes from. Habits are the baseline. If I do my habits, I know the outcome will come, even if I can't even see it yet. Doing my habits makes me feel and perform better. If you don't feel healthy, productive, or in control, I want you to try something simple tomorrow. Wake up at a set time. Do not look at your phone, drink a big glass of water, and go for a walk or a workout immediately. When you come back, I will guarantee that you will feel more productive, more healthy, and on top of the world. And if you do this for a long enough period of time, you will suddenly have created an identity of feeling on top of the world. And that's why habits matter. They don't just change your schedule, they shape your character. So hopefully the previous example gave you some stuff to think about. Most people think of habits as just tick box exercises, but habits aren't just tasks. They're identity level instructions. This clicked for me after reading a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Now the core idea of this is simple. You, your identities, and your goals are like guided missiles. You're trying to hit a goal, and when the missile is flying, it might get sent off course by the wind, but the mechanics of the missile will get you back on course. Those mechanics are your habits. You might miss your wake up time by one day, but then you reinstate that habit and you get it back on course. You might miss a workout one day, but then you reinstate the next day. And if you do this for long enough, you will reach your goals, whether that's getting healthier, that's being more disciplined, or even something like getting ready to quit your job. But the most important thing is this. If you don't reinstate your habits immediately, the missile will keep drifting away from its goal. And if you let it drift long enough, it might even turn around and start flying in the total opposite direction. And so your bad habits will act in the same way. They will reinstate that the missile should fly in the wrong direction. And this is why people self-sabotage. They're not stupid. It's because the habits conflict with their identity. And when you repeat a habit consistently, you're not just building a routine, you're rewiring your self-image. You don't decide you're disciplined, you prove it. And once that proof exists, your brain can start working for you instead of against you. And that's why vague habits don't work. Going to the gym isn't enough. Your habits need to be specific. Specific habits change identity, and identity is what will change your life. For me, habits are always tied to goals because goals give habits meaning. I don't just train, I train for something. Whether that's a marathon, an Ironman, a business target, because the goal is the destination that the missile will fly to. So whilst watching this, you probably already realized there are some things you're doing every single day that aren't serving you. Things you're not proud of and things that are actively working against the person you want to become. So whilst that is fresh in your mind, I want to show you how to rewire this properly without relying on motivation or willpower. Now the key is this. Make your habits so easy to execute that failing feels harder than succeeding. Now, I'm not saying the end goal is easy, it isn't. Real change takes time, effort, and energy, but the starting point of a habit has to be attainable, especially if you're already stuck in the cycle of saying you'll do things and then not following through with them. And let's just use waking up as an example. Right now, you wake up at 8 a.m. You rush out of the door and your morning feels chaotic. You told yourself you wanted to wake up at 6, but it's not happening. So what do most people do? They keep setting the same goal and they keep failing. And as you know, that is reinforcing the identity of I don't follow through with things, which is backwards. Instead of jumping 2 hours, you should move the goalposts slightly. Your new habit should become, I wake up at 7 a.m. That's it. It's attainable, it's realistic, it's not a drastic change. And most importantly, you can stick to this. And once that's locked in, you can then move it again. 7 a.m. becomes 6:30, 6:30 becomes 6, and before you know it, you're up earlier without the constant failure loop. And the same principle applies to every habit. If exercise feels overwhelming, don't start with a 5K. Start by just simply putting on your shoes. That's a habit. Because once your shoes are on, the hardest part is done. You're far more likely to leave the house, move your body, and build momentum. And this matters because I want habits to be clearly defined and measurable. This is exactly how I started my business journey too. I didn't think about building a company. That wasn't my habit. My only non-negotiable habit was find 10 businesses to reach out to today. That was it, every single day. And once I did that, momentum took over. I did more, I got better, and results followed. But the habit was small. It was clear and it was achievable. And this is where most people mess up. They reward the outcome, the money, the weight loss, or whatever result you're looking for. But the thing about outcomes is they're influenced by variables you cannot control, whereas inputs aren't. The only thing you can truly control in life is your effort, your attention, and your consistency. So I only measure inputs. Did I do the work I said I would? If yes, I win the day. If no, I adjust. That's it. And that's what I want you to take away from this. If you want to change your identity, you don't need to be more motivated. You need to make small habits, execute consistently, and rebuild trust with yourself. Make the habit easy, make it clear, and make it non-negotiable. Because once you start proving to yourself that you do what you say you're gonna do, everything else will follow. So now you know how to set and develop your habits. The next thing is making sure you stick to them long term. And quite frankly, this is the most difficult part. On average, it takes 66 days to install a new habit. But how do you get through those 66 days? Well, you need to attach those habits to something meaningful. You know, you and I both know you're not just waking up early for the sake of it. You're not training, working harder, or trying to make more money just for fun. There's a bigger reason behind it, a bigger why. And that's the core reason I'm obsessed with self-improvement. Because all of these small daily actions, the habits, the routine, how you show up are the micro. And the micro always will feed the macro. The reason you haven't achieved everything you want in life yet isn't just bad luck. It's because you're not the person capable of achieving it yet. And that's not demotivating, that is just reality. And I'm the same. I have goals I haven't hit yet. I want bigger businesses. I want to sell a business. I want to run a sub-3 marathon. I haven't done that yet, not because I can't, but because I still have internal work to do to become the person capable of pulling that off. And that's how this works for everyone. So how do you close the gap between where you are now and where you want to be? And really you have to start with the macro. You have to get clear on why you even want these things in the first place. Take waking up early as an example. You don't just wake up early just to wake up early. You want more time, more energy, more clarity, which will then lead to better work, better relationships, and better health, which then leads to more opportunity, more freedom, and more fulfillment. And that's the chain. And once you can see these connections clearly, the habits stop feeling pointless. And the key shift is this: stop asking yourself, do I feel like doing this today? And start asking yourself, what would the version of me I'm trying to become do? Because quite frankly, if you were already that person, you'd already have the results. So something has to change, and that something is you. And a really simple exercise you can do is ask yourself, what does my life look like in 1 year? How does that version of me show up differently? What do they do consistently that I don't do today? And the answer to these questions will almost become your habits. Once you attach your habits to the future version of you, sticking to them becomes obvious, because not doing them would mean you're moving away from the life that you say you want. If you want to stop relying on motivation, if you want your habits to actually stick, you need to have a clear vision of who you're trying to become. Change the habits, change the identity, change the life. Give it 66 days, and I promise you will see results like you've never seen before. And if you got this far in the video, I suggest you drop a subscribe to my channel so I can keep feeding you mindset videos like this to hold you accountable.